Our eyes, working together with our brains, construct things. They're constructive. Our eyes build images, thereby creating what we see. Our perceptions are something that we create. And this amazing capacity is part of what it means to be human. You likely know how this works, how it is that our brains actively fill in the gaps in what we're seeing to make a complete picture. This process is actually called filling in, putting together what our eyes are seeing with what our brains think we should be seeing. Our brains use past experience and our unconscious assumptions to instantly determine how a picture should be completed. They piece together whatever information is garnered from that visual input, and then they use this kind of prior knowledge and understanding and expectations to fill in the missing details. And let it be said that what we think we see is not always a perfectly accurate replica of reality. Our brains sometimes, maybe always, introduce biases or make errors in predictions. Our very real intelligence is sort of like artificial intelligence, AI. Because the data that we put in produces the data that we believe to be true. So here are a couple of examples, and there's a slide to demonstrate. What do you see in these two? What's present there are incomplete circles, kind of like little Pac-Men. But what we see, some of us may be seeing a triangle or a square that aren't really there. Or how about this one? What color are these strawberries? I expect many of you see red. But in fact, there is no red in this picture. You've experienced strawberries before and you've seen them as red, so you see a picture of strawberries as being red. Assumptions, unconscious bias. It's how we fill in what's missing, and this determines what we think we're seeing. Now, what I'm interested in today is not so much the actual complete image that we create, but rather how we might train our brains to see in ways that are the most affirming and gratifying and contentment producing and helpful and healthful, training our brains to seek and therefore to actually see unity and beauty all around us. Let's use an example of these flower bouquets. From whatever perspective or angle you look, you cannot see the whole picture. You might be assuming that the flower blocked by one in the front is of the same color or type. You might notice a small interior forest of green and believe it to be the stems of some flowers or the leaves of another one. You don't really know that, but you fill it in. Your eye may believe a particular blossom to be one of one color, when in fact, on closer view, you would see that there are a multitude of colors blooming out from that one flower's interior. You create a reality that may or may not be there. Maybe you see that a particular stem is bent, and one flower is beginning to droop. That the arrangement could be described as random rather than intentional. That there are some tall flowers alongside shorter ones, that there's wild flowers alongside cultured ones. And what of your judgments and perceptions? What determinations are you making? Do you decide that you see the colors as balanced or not? Do you decide what's pleasing to you, what's right, how it should be? That the random gathering of blossoms contributed by so many of you creates this interesting assortment? Or do you lean into simply seeing these bouquets as things of beauty? Or maybe your vision is tempered with thoughts of how the display could be better. We'll talk about this in a minute, but in the flower ceremony, these bouquets are meant to be symbolic of the diversity of community, the beautiful diversity, the variety of our styles and our gifts, the uniqueness of each bloom contributing to a common beauty. And so we can use an examination of how we might look at a bouquet of flowers as being similar to how we perceive the experience of community, or the interface with difference, or the unpredictability of life circumstances and encounters. What is it that we see first? Which lens are we using to observe and interpret our lives? As John O'Donohue said, more often than not, the style of gaze depends or determines what we see. The style of the gaze. The intentions that we bring to the perceptions we create. Does difference make us uncomfortable? Or do we choose to embrace the common humanity in everyone we encounter? Do we strive to interpret the bumps we hit on our lives' roads as being out to get us? Or as things that, while outside of our control, we can respond to with equanimity? Do we rail against our own imperfections? Or do we see our lives as ongoing lessons and opportunities? And I'm not suggesting that we sit back and soften our gaze to see everything in our experience, everything that's happening in the world, as beautiful. It's not. I'm also not suggesting that we try to coat what is evil or painful with a sealant of denial. But how could our everyday life change if our style of looking were to become more beautiful? I think it might be a kind of practice or a fine-tuning, consciously making choices about what we want to see, or how we can best perceive what is in the interest of what can be. You know, looking at others and at life in ways that actually contribute to the world we want. Now, maybe that means interweaving some curiosity with our skepticism, some acceptance into our judgment. Maybe it means questioning our reactivity and choosing more self-reflection. Maybe it means opening our hearts to move into the world compassion forward. Maybe it means looking at ourselves in the mirror, whether that be literally or figuratively, and seeing just how beautiful we are. Filling in, coloring, all the myriad gaps in our understanding with a gaze that assumes what is missing is more love. That's what's missing is more beauty. I don't know what the best images would be to illustrate this. Thinking back to the earlier slides, would you have seen something different had you seen those first slides with a particular intention? That you turned your eye and you said, I'm only going to see blue. Or, I'm only going to see this upside down. So imagine that you saw a person on the sidewalk, bundled up in black with a hood. What do you see? Might you see this person as part of a diverse cityscape, someone who is perhaps cold or feeling a little vulnerable? Or do you see someone to fear? Your choice. When you perceive that someone in your community has made a mistake or an error in judgment, what do you see? Someone doing their best, someone who's human and ever evolving? Or do you choose to see red, to respond with anger or disdain? Your choice. How might you train your style of looking to be more beautiful, more accepting, more compassionate? How might all of our lives and all of our relationships be made more beautiful by the way we choose to see all that we encounter? You know, we cannot control very much of anything that might come our way, but we can control and choose our gaze to change the way that we look at things. And in so doing, in beautifying our gaze, we change all that can be, and all that will be. May it be so. We come now to the flower ceremony,